All right, welcome everyone to the All About Nothing podcast kind of daily show. I am Barrett Gruber, host of the All About Nothing podcast. You can find me across all of social media at Barrett Gruber. If you want to participate in the show, you can do that with us on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. You can find links at the top of our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com. Please follow and subscribe wherever you are hearing us. It is Wednesday. Well, the recording. I'm doing this live on a Wednesday. The episode releases, of course, on Thursday morning. If you are subscribed and listening to us on any one of the podcast versions, again, please consider supporting us by following, subscribing, whatever it takes to do that. I appreciate it. Gonna get started. Got a pretty packed show. Trump's Department of Justice just killed its own $1.8 billion slush fund, and not quietly. We'll get into that. Then we're going to talk about this war with Iran, the ceasefire that is really not a ceasefire, the peace talks that aren't really quite peace talks, and Israel doing Israel shit. It's things we expect them to do while we're all pretending we're surprised. And then at the end of the show, we're going to talk about a little case. I say a little case. It's actually a really big deal here in South Carolina that I think deserves full attention. 14-year-old boy, a not guilty verdict, and a prosecution that I believe failed him. So stay with us all for that. Really appreciate it. So you may have heard that earlier this year, the Trump administration announced something called the Anti Weaponization Fund. And I want to let that name kind of wash over you. The Anti Weaponization Fund. That's a real name that real adults chose. For $1.776 billion. I have to repeat it. Taxpayer money. So here's the setup. Trump sued his own administration, which basically is himself, over the IRS leaking his tax returns during his first term. So just for a second there, let that all compile. Trump's own IRS leaked his tax returns during his first term, okay? And technically it wasn't the IRS. It was a contractor that worked for the IRS. That particular contractor also leaked several other people's tax returns. He's in jail, and he'll be there for a little while. I say he. I don't know if it was a he or she. I don't. But regardless, as the settlement, the DOJ agreed to create this fund. Trump drops the lawsuit. The government creates a $1.8 billion pool of money. Trump and his businesses get permanently exempted from IRS audits, which, just so you understand, that means forever There will never be another audit for Donald Trump, and a 5-member commission gets to decide who gets paid out of it. Okay? Who appoints the commission? The acting attorney general. Who is the acting attorney general? His name is Todd Blanche. And who is Todd Blanche? Todd Blanche is Trump's former personal defense attorney. I'm sure that's fine, right? No issues there. So now the fund was supposedly open to anyone who felt weaponized, targeted, or persecuted, whether you were a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, anyone. It's very inclusive, very bipartisan slush fund. But critics, including some actual Republicans, pointed out that the first people in line for this money would likely be January 6th rioters who were already pardoned. So they would have been pardoned and then paid, which is a lot, even by recent standards. Federal judge in Virginia took one look at this and said, absolutely not. She temporarily blocked it. She blocked the whole thing temporarily. Then the administration said they would comply with the court order, technically complying, but they left the door open to reviving it later, which the administration, which is the administrative equivalent of saying, sure, we'll drop it, while keeping your fingers crossed behind your back. And then Tuesday, Acting Attorney General Blanche sits down in front of the House Appropriations Subcommittee and says, I'm quoting here, we're not moving forward with the fund, period. The $1.8 billion Anti-Weaponization Fund is now dead. Now, Democrats, being Democrats, they immediately introduced the Drain the Slush Fund Act. Senators Slotkin, Schiff, and Kelly, great name. I think that should absolutely be like a lawyer's office. Slotkin, Schiff, and Kelly. And a little late since the fund is already dead, but I appreciate the energy. And Chuck Schumer said, and I genuinely respect the conviction here, if Trump and Republicans are truly abandoning this coarse and corrupt scheme, they should have zero problem banning it in law. And I agree. He's right. If it's dead, bury it in statute. Don't just let it be dead for now. Subject it to revive. Don't let it be brought back. Subject it to revival whenever the headlines move on. Because here's the thing. This fund didn't die because someone had a change of heart about corruption. It died because a judge blocked it and it became political liability. That's not the same thing as learning a lesson. The lesson they learned is try again later, just quieter. The Anti-Weaponization Fund, rest in peace. You were shameless, you were brief, and honestly, I respect the audacity, just an absolute nothing to lose vibes-based approach to federal appropriations. Let's move on to Iran, because I feel like, again, this isn't really getting much front page news lately, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page about what is actually happening. Background, fast. Last year, 2025, there was something called the 12-Day War. The United States and Israel strikes hit Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran fired missiles at an American base in Qatar. Nobody died. Trump went on Truth Social and declared a ceasefire. Iran's foreign minister said they never agreed to a ceasefire, but it kind of held for a while. Then 2026 came around, and the conflict kicked back up. Iran blocked the Strait of Hormuz, which is the choke point for roughly 20% of the world's oil supply, and things got bad very quickly. And if you want to understand why your gas prices look the way they do right now, that's a significant part of the answer. Now, by April, Pakistan brokered a 2-week ceasefire. Trump called Iran's peace proposal workable. Iran said nuclear enrichment was non-negotiable, but the amount and levels were open for discussion. The U.S. wanted to curtail Iran's ballistic missile program. Everyone said a deal was close. It wasn't close. And here we are tonight. Iran has suspended peace talks. Why? Because Israel has been escalating its military operations in Lebanon. And Iran says that violates the spirit of the ceasefire. And look, you can debate whether Iran is negotiating in good faith or Israel's actions are a convenient out. And smart people do debate that. But the result is the same either way. There are no talks. Trump on ABC News said a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz was reachable over the next week. He has said that before, and the week before that. So we're going to call this week 8 of one more week's? CNN is reporting negotiations are back on track. Iran's foreign minister says the U.S. is making maximalist demands. The strait is still effectively closed. The United States has released 58 million barrels of oil from its Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That's roughly 14% of what we have in the tank, just to keep gas prices from completely spiraling. And I want to stop and let that number sit for a second. 14% of our emergency oil reserve. That reserve exists for genuine national emergencies. We're burning through it to manage the economic pressure from a conflict that has no visible exit ramp. That should concern everyone regardless of where you stand politically, because the reserve is not unlimited. And then there's Israel. Trump reportedly got into a heated phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu, asking him to scale back operations in Lebanon. Netanyahu said Israel would keep striking Hezbollah, agreed to a ceasefire proposal, but Israel continues to strike. So again, Hezbollah has agreed to a ceasefire proposal, but Israel keeps striking them. So let me translate all of this into plain language. We are in a war with a ceasefire that gets violated on a regular basis, with peace talks that they keep almost happening and then not happening, with an ally that is actively making the peace talks harder, and with whom the President of the United States is apparently now getting into arguments over the phone with. Oil prices under real strain because the world's most important shipping lane is in a war zone, and the administration saying a deal is 1 week away every single week. And I want to be honest for a second. There are real people paying real prices for this. At the pump, in the region, in the military. The Strategic Reserve is not a piggy bank. It's not a political tool for managing bad optics. It is there for when things truly go sideways. And right now we're spending it down managing a conflict that the people in charge keep telling us is almost over. A ceasefire that requires Israel's cooperation, and Israel just keeps escalating. It's not a ceasefire, it's a pause, and pauses end. And I'm not telling you that I have any of the answers. I'm not. I'm saying keep watching this. It's easy to stop paying attention to a war when it's not the headline every day. The news cycle moves on, but the war doesn't stop being a war just because we're tired of it. Anyway, Trump says it'll be done next week. Week 8 of next week. So this episode's going to be a little shorter than normal. Normally we try and do about 30 minutes or so, but I have one thing that I do really want to discuss tonight. So before we go, we need to talk about the case right here in South Carolina. And this is a story that it's been sitting with me, and tonight we're going to give it some time that it deserves. So it involves a water bottle, a chase, and a verdict that really should be troubling all of us. A jury handed down a not guilty verdict in the murder of Rick Chow. He's a former gas station owner here in the Columbia, South Carolina area. The victim was Cyrus Carmack-Belton. He is a 14-year-old kid, shot once in the back. I'm going to walk you through the facts. No opinions, but facts. So, the Richland County Sheriff's Office said flat out, we have no evidence that he stole anything whatsoever. Surveillance footage shows that Cyrus at one point picked up 4 water bottles from a cooler and put them back. He put them back. He didn't steal a thing. Despite that, prosecutors said that Chow and his son Andy chased the teenager, and they chased him over 100 yards from the store, the length of a football field, past the point where any reasonable self-defense argument could hold up. You don't chase a fleeing person more than the length of a football field and then claim you were defending yourself. That argument collapses the moment the pursuit begins. The forensic pathologist who performed Cyrus's autopsy testified that the fatal bullet entered through the teenager's back, traveled through his body, and struck his heart. Consistent with someone leaning forward while running, shot in the back, again, running away. The defense said this was about a father protecting his son. that Cyrus had pointed a gun at Andy Chow. But the prosecutors fired back with something that I think is worth repeating. No one testified that happened that doesn't have the last name Chow. Multiple witnesses said they did not see anything in Carmack-Belton's hands as he ran. A judge had already rejected Chow's stand your ground immunity claim before the trial, ruling that evidence didn't support a self-defense argument. A judge, before the jury ever sat down. That ruling didn't prevent the trial. It just meant the bar was set, and still not guilty. Now, I've seen a lot of people jump straight to calling this a racist Southern jury, and I understand the reaction. But let me tell you who was actually in that room. The 12-person jury included 3 black men, 2 black women, 3 white women, 2 white men, and 2 jurors of other backgrounds. They deliberated for nearly 8 hours, and by multiple accounts, they were devastated by the position they were in. Because the jury had only 2 options, guilty of murder or not guilty, no lesser charge, no manslaughter. The prosecution went all in on murder and took manslaughter completely off the table. So let that sink in. This was not a jury that decided Cyrus's life didn't matter. This may well have been a jury that was backed into a corner, because in South Carolina, to convict on murder, prosecutors had to prove malice, deliberate, intentional killing. The jury even sent the judge a question mid-deliberation asking him to clarify the legal definition of malice. They were wrestling with it. They were trying to find a path, and they couldn't get there unanimously on murder, and there was nowhere else they could go. When 12 people cannot unanimously agree that malice was proven beyond a reasonable doubt, and there is no middle option on the verdict form, the man who shot a 14-year-old in the back walks out of a courtroom free. Community members at protests outside of the gas station that very next day said it plainly. The prosecution failed us because they should have added on the lesser charge, and manslaughter should have been on the table. And I agree. And here is the broader concern I cannot let go of. The family's attorney, Todd Rutherford, a South Carolina state representative with nearly 30 years in law, said he had never seen a verdict quite like this. If manslaughter had been on the verdict form, this story might have ended differently. Not with justice complete. Nothing brings Cyrus back. But with something with some sort of accountability. Instead, a prosecutorial strategy left the jury with an impossible choice, and a man walked home. So what do we do with this? We have to demand better from our prosecutors. We demand that our legislators take a hard look at South Carolina's self-defense laws, which right now create situations where a person can chase a fleeing child over 100 yards and still make a viable self-defense claim in front of a jury. And we do not let this case get buried under the next news cycle. In my honest opinion, this is a complete failure of the prosecution. And truthfully, I think the blame goes all the way to the top. South Carolina's Attorney General Alan Wilson, a man whom, in my opinion, has shown time and time again that he is more interested in his own political future than in actual justice for people of the state. When a 14-year-old boy gets shot in the back over a bottle of water he didn't steal, and the prosecutor's office can't even put manslaughter on the verdict form, that is not bad luck. That is, in my opinion, a failure of leadership from the ground floor all the way to the top of the building in Columbia. And the people of South Carolina deserve better. Cyrus Carmack-Belton deserved better. At 14 years old, this boy is dead. He didn't steal anything. He was chased over 100 yards and shot in the back while running away. And the man who pulled that trigger went home. Partly because that system was supposed to seek justice for Cyrus. Cyrus's justice didn't come. The jury was left with no room to find it. Cyrus Carmack-Belton deserved better, and we should all say his name. So that is going to do it for tonight's episode Really hope you all have a great weekend. Should be nice here in the Southeast. It's supposed to be a little cooler, which is lovely. So please, I hope that is good for all of you. Big thanks to everyone for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, you can follow me at Barrett Gruber across all of social media. Thank you for liking and hitting that bell. And if you can, give us a 5-star review and leave a comment. Until next time, you all stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself. All right. Yeah, I agree. Except in this case, I don't think Chow is going to be deemed a hero, where Rittenhouse, an underage kid traveling across state lines with firearms, which is illegal, Rittenhouse got treated like he was a hero, right? I mean, just flat out treated as though he was a hero by the right. So anyway, all right. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully we'll see you all again soon.